On behalf of the Remembrance Day Committee, the Town of Coaldale, and myself, Dave Schaff, welcome and thank you for joining into today's virtual ceremony. We appreciate your display of respect and gratitude for our veterans who have fought for our freedom in the conflicts over the past century. Their selflessness and sacrifices of those veterans have ensured that we live in a country where we are free to enjoy the lives that we do. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the poppy being adopted as the flower of remembrance in Canada. The poppy is seen as a symbol of our respect and of our remembrance for those who have served our country. We thank our Canadian veterans for their service and vital contributions to our Canadian ideals of democracy, of freedom, and of peace. At this time, we'll watch a tribute video to the Coaldale and area veterans. Please stand for the placement of the colors, and following that, remain standing for the singing of our national anthem, led by Amy Allred.
Detail! On the left! Quick march!
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true North, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Color party! Deposit! Colors! Upward! Haste! On the left! Quick march! Detail! Halt!
You may be seated now. Bishopric Second Counselor in Coaldale Ward of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Nathan Wanup, will recite the Act of Remembrance.
They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
Please rise and remain standing for the last post, then 2 minutes of silence at 11 a.m., followed by the lament, the ruse, and then the commitment to remember.
They were young, as we are young. They served, giving freely of themselves. To them we pledge, amid the winds of time, to carry their torch and never forget. We will remember them.
Each year, the Royal Canadian Legion sponsors youth programs. As stated by the Legion believes educating our youth on the high cost of their freedom is one of the most important roles that they can undertake. We must impress upon young people who have never known war that freedom was won at the cost of many lives, young lives like their own. The students of Coaldale Christian School submitted artwork to the Royal Canadian Legion General Stewart branch for their poster competition for 2021. Grade 12 student Christine Schoen's winning poster is featured on the front of the 2021 Remembrance Day program. She placed first in the senior black and white category at the branch level and then went on to place third at the district level. Grade 11 student Lisa Weeb's winning poster is highlighted on the back page of the program. And grade 7 student Nick Bumer's winning poster is found on the third page of this program. There are also a number of literary works submitted to the Royal Canadian Legion, and Leah Larman won first place at the branch level and then went on to his first place at the district level for her essay, Their Freedom for Ours. On behalf of Ms. Larman, Lynn Schaff is honored to recite her writing, Their Freedom for Ours.
Their Freedom for Ours by Leah Larman. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to experience a war? Bloodshed, death, uncertainty, and absolute terror only briefly touch on the tragedy of war to soldiers and their families. Soldiers that fought for Canada's freedom did not serve for their own benefit, but sacrificed their lives for the freedom of their country. They were motivated by the goal of someday experiencing a country liberated from the terror of war. Unfortunately, many of these courageous men and women did not survive the war to see their dream become a reality. We are given the privilege of experiencing a liberated country as a result of their heroic sacrifices. Our freedom came at a price. Thousands of soldiers sacrificed their lives and freedom so that we could enjoy a liberated country. They did not fight for themselves, they fought for us. They endured horrific circumstances so that future generations would not be forced to experience the terror and uncertainty that they did. Every year on November 11th, we dedicate our hearts and minds to the soldiers of the past, as well as soldiers who stand on guard for the freedom and safety of our country today. Just as we make a personal commitment to remembering soldiers on Remembrance Day, it is also important to remember and honor them every other day of the year. Freedom is so much more than one day of remembrance with a symbolizing poppy pinned onto our vests. Freedom is the everyday privilege we have of acting and speaking without hindrance or restraint. Our lives should reflect undying gratitude towards soldiers for giving to us the irreplaceable gift of freedom. Every moment of every day should be lived to its fullest, as a way of honoring the soldiers of the past, present-day soldiers, and today's veterans that suffer both physical and internal scars. They die so that we can live and suffer for our personal gain. They serve that we may experience everyday freedom.
I'm now honored to introduce our guest speaker. Warrant Officer Glenn Miller served 25 years in the Royal Regiment of the Canadian Military from 1982 to 2007. He was trained on a variety of anti-aircraft guns, missiles, and radar. During the Cold War, he served in the 128th Airfield Air Defense Battery at Canadian Forces in West Germany, and shortly thereafter the 4th Air Defense Regiment. From 1991 to 1995, he was posted to Toronto as a recruiter for the Canadian Armed Forces. In 1995, he was posted back to Lethbridge to the 18th Air Defence Regiment as part of the regular force staff to provide training support. He is instructed on various leadership courses in air defence equipment at the Artillery School in Gagetown, New Brunswick. He served on a NATO tour in Bosnia and Herzegovina, where he was employed in the Joint Military Affairs Branch responsible for monitoring the enforcement of the Dayton Peace Accord. After retiring, he completed the Communications Arts program majoring in advertising and public relations at the Lethbridge College. He's been featured in covering military articles for TV, magazines, radio, and newspaper. Mr. Miller has continued to stay active and volunteering for community not-for-profit organizations and service clubs. He has served as an officer assisting veterans and their families for over a decade with the General Stewart branch of the Royal Canadian Legion. In 2018, he was inducted into the Blood Tribe Headdress Society and given the Blackfoot name, Lilakayyakaitopi. Please help me in welcoming Warrant Officer, retired Glenn Miller.
Good morning. Lest we forget of service, courage, and sacrifice at home, around the world, and across generations. Canadian military members have a long tradition of defending peace and helping others. Over the last few years, a number of major milestones have been marked. This year's Veteran Week poster from Veterans Affairs Canada reflects several that illustrate this proud legacy of service, sacrifice, and commitment. On the poster, there are several members shown as a reminder of why we are gathered here today to pause, give thanks, and remember. The first on the left is a Canadian soldier on reconnaissance patrol in Afghanistan, Kandahar province. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the end of Canada's combat mission in the country in 2011. A young soldier from Coaldale came extremely close to having his name placed on this cenotaph. I joined many people here in Coaldale at the community center as he was able to finally come home to continue in his healing. That event helped to bring the effects of war home to me and to the rest of the community. Remember the many members that come back that have wounds both visible and invisible. Not only will family and friends need to learn to support those who return in their communities, but all of us need to demonstrate to them by our actions of tangible support we can and must give. A Canadian peacekeeper on patrol in Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. This year marks the 65th anniversary of the beginning of the first large-scale United Nations peacekeeping mission there in 1956. Canadians have helped to win the Nobel Peace Prize for peacekeeping. A Canadian soldier carrying a sandbag to help fight rising floodwaters. Canadian Armed Forces members often help here at home, like 25 years ago during the devastating floods in Quebec in 1996. More recently, only a few years ago in Calgary, and fires this past year. Members take great pride in helping their fellow Canadians. A Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry soldier helping a wounded comrade get to an aid station near the Capion Valley. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the Korea War Battle of Capion in 1951. I had the pleasure of attending a ceremony in Brampton, Ontario this past summer, and I saw a handful of associations of these proud veterans close down due to their age and hand over the responsibility of keeping their memory alive to a commemorative association a torch being passed. A Canadian aviator at an airbase in Qatar during the Gulf War. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the end of this tense conflict in the Persian Gulf region in 1991. I was a witness to this event as being stationed in West Germany as part of NATO. A Canadian signaller using a spotting scope in the hills of Hong Kong. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the Second War's defense of Hong Kong in 1941. Across Canada, only 3 Hong Kong veterans remain. The sons and daughters of these veterans keep their memory alive with annual ceremonies and events. In Lethbridge this past summer, they flew their flag at City Hall, and it flew overnight with the lights showcasing the regimental colors. How many Canadians would recognize the HK symbol of their service and sacrifice that is placed on their grave markers while visiting a cemetery? A pair of Canadian soldiers training near the Somme in France during the First World War, and this year marks the 105th anniversary of the battles of the Somme and Beaumont-Hamel in 1916. These 7 figures on the poster are just a snapshot of Canadians serving in the defense of Canada. Every time I see a veteran headstone, I pause and give thanks to the memory to all those who served by sea, by land, and in the air, who rest here in Canada and overseas. They left to their heirs and all people this Canada we enjoy today. This year being the 100th anniversary of the poppy, where Canadians have proudly worn since, you can help to show you remember, and you can help to share how you remember by adding to your story by using the hashtag #MyPoppyStory, lest we forget.
Glenn, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us today. Bringing greetings from the Government of Canada, MP Rachel Harder.
As we gather on this important day of remembrance, we honor the brave men and women who took a stand against the threat of tyranny to defend this country we love and call home. 2021 marks the 100th anniversary of the Remembrance poppy that we wear here in Canada. A flower memorialized by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae's poem in Flanders Field. These red poppies, which bloomed in the barren battlefields, have become an important symbol of remembrance. As we wear a poppy proudly over our hearts, we honor the incredible sacrifice of those who served and gave their lives for our freedom. It is incumbent upon all of us, I believe, as beneficiaries of their sacrifices, to uphold the values for which they fought. So let us remember. Let us remember those who lost their lives. Let us remember the veterans who are still with us, many of whom lost friends in conflict. Let us remember those who are currently serving, and let us not forget the family members of those we've lost. I wish to pay special tribute today to the women and the men of Coaldale who have served our country, and to those who continue to serve our country, as well as their family members, their loved ones, lest we forget.
Thank you, Rachel. Bringing greetings from the Government of Alberta, MLA Grant Hunter.
It's an honor to join you virtually on this Remembrance Day as a representative of the Alberta government and as your MLA for Tabor-Warner. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we take time to remember the brave men and women who gave their lives to fight against tyranny and oppression. We use time to measure one's life, but for so many of the young men and women that went to war, their time ran out so soon. November 11th reminds us to be grateful for the freedoms we have today because of those who gave their lives in defense in times past. We are reminded that freedom wasn't and isn't free, and that we must be ever vigilant in our defense of freedom so that the sacrifices of those who died will not be in vain. Last night, in a conversation about freedom, a friend shared a story about his trip to Holland. He wears a Canadian pin proudly whenever he travels, and while he was walking down a street, an older Dutchman came up and gave him a heartfelt hug. Perplexed by this odd form of salutation, my friend inquired as to the reason of such a display. The man told him of the terrible occupation of Nazi Germany during World War II, and how Canadian soldiers liberated his family from that oppressive regime. He told him that he will be eternally grateful for every Canadian, and especially those Canadians that gave their life in defense of his family's liberty and freedom. So today I want to share my heartfelt thanks and admiration for the men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice so that I can live free today. The greatest way we can honor our fallen soldiers is to be vigilant in protecting those freedoms and liberties they fought so hard to preserve. God bless those men and women. God bless the veterans here today that still live with the physical and emotional scars from their service, lest we forget.
Thank you, Grant. Noah Wright, a member of the 3rd Coaldale Scouts, will present In Flanders Fields. And following that, Kim and Lisa Camps, members of the Coaldale Girl Guides, will recite the reply to In Flanders Fields.
In Flanders Field by John McCree. In Flanders Field the poppies blow, between the crosses row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow, in Flanders Field.
Reply to In Flanders Fields by John Mitchell.
Oh, sleep in peace where poppies grow, the torch your falling hands let go, was caught by us, again held high, a beacon light in Flanders sky, that dims the star to those below. You are our dead, you held the foe, and ere the poppies cease to blow, will prove our faith in who you lie in Flanders Field.
Oh, rest in peace we quickly go, to you who bravely died, and know, in other fields was heard the cry for freedom's cause of who lie, so still asleep where poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
As in rumbling sounds to and fro, the lightning flashes, sky aglow, the mighty hosts appear and high, above the din of battle cry. Scarce heard amidst the guns below, are fearless hearts who fight the foe, and guard the place where poppies grow. Oh, sleep in peace, all you who lie in Flanders Fields.
And still the poppies gently blow between the crosses row on row. The larks will bravely soaring high are singing now their lullaby, to you who sleep where poppies grow in Flanders Fields.
We have a number of organizations that will present a wreath. This is done as a symbol of respect and of Remembrance. On behalf of the Government of Canada, MP Rachel Harder. On behalf of the Government of Canada Veterans Affairs Last Post Fund, Warrant Officer Glenn Miller. On behalf of the Province of Alberta, MLA Grant Hunter. On behalf of Lethbridge County, Councillor Tori Campbell. On behalf of the town of Coaldale, Mayor Jack Van Ryn. On behalf of the bereaved mothers, Patricia Damjanoff. On behalf of the Canadian Armed Forces, Captain Brad Young and Sergeant Sheldon Flynn. On behalf of the Royal Canadian Legion, Diane Reed. On behalf of veterans, Retired Sergeant Wendy Nelson. On behalf of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Constable Jordan Ayub. On behalf of the Coaldale and District Emergency Services, Deputy Chief Clayton Rutberg. On behalf of the War Amps of Canada, Robbie Peters and Matt Burton. On behalf of 3rd Coaldale Scouts, Aidan Woods, Noah Stenhouse, and Finley Morris. On behalf of the Coaldale Girl Guides, Kim and Lisa Camps. The poppy. Why do we wear a poppy? Well, we wear the poppy because it shows our respect, gratitude, and thanks to the veterans who have fought for our freedom in conflicts over the past century. After the First World War, Madame Anna Guerin, later christened the Poppy Lady from France, was inspired by John McCrae's In Flanders Fields. She had an idea to adopt the distribution of poppies on Armistice Day as a way to raise money for veterans' needs and to remember those who had given their lives during the First World War. 100 years ago, in July of 1921, the Great War Veterans Association, which in 1925 unified with other veterans groups to form the Canadian Legion, they adopted the poppy as a flower of remembrance. For the last 100 years, the poppy has become our unmistakable symbol of our respect and gratitude for those who have served in the military. But Remembrance Day only happens once a year, one day a year, and then we get back to life as usual. So over time, do we run the risk of apathy? World War I, the Great War, the war to end all wars. 20 million died. 10 million military personnel, 10 million civilians, and an additional 20 million injured. World War II, 50 million died. 20 million military personnel, 30 million civilians. Now, those wars were a long time ago. So over time, do we start to forget? Fortunately, there has not been another war of the magnitude of World War I or World War II. There have been many peacekeeping missions that Canadians have served in, whether that be the Congo, the Middle East, Somalia, Rwanda, Bosnia, Haiti, and many others. But this is happening in some other country, a country that is far away. Does the strife of another country really affect me? Well, I suppose not really. I hear about it in the news, but it's somebody else's war, someone else's problem. Are we taking for granted the freedoms that we have been gifted to us through the sacrifices of others? November 11th is one day a year. Yes, it's a day we gather, a day we remember, a day we wear a poppy, a day we show our gratitude and our respect. But what about all those other days? What else can I do? Well, here are some suggestions from Veterans Affairs of Canada. Talk to a veteran. Talk to someone who's currently serving in the military. Understand what they experienced. Do some research. There's plenty of information online, whether they're interviews of those that fought within the war, whether they're mini documentaries. Visit a museum. The Lethbridge Military Museum is located in the Vimy Ridge Armory out at the Airport Industrial Park. Their mission is to promote and exhibit to the public the rich military history of Lethbridge and area from 1899 to the present. They hope that this will lead to a better understanding of our community's military contribution to the preservation of world peace and security. Read a book. My son gave me a book that I'm now reading, that he read. It's called Shaking Hands with the Devil, a book authored by Canadian Lieutenant General Romeo Dallaire, who led a UN peacekeeping mission in Rwanda. It describes a tragedy that he witnessed in Rwanda and the guilt he felt as he was powerless in the limited actions that he could undertake. For too many of us, it is impossible to fathom the sacrifice that was made by those who have fought to protect our freedom. In honor of our veterans and of all those who fought, those who have paid the ultimate price and those who are serving today, I would ask you to take a few moments to reflect and to give personal thanks. And think about what you can do to ensure that you will remember, to ensure that they will not be forgotten. I will now call upon Nathan Wanup, who will provide his benediction.
Our loving Heavenly Father, we come before Thee at this day, and we thank Thee for all the many blessings that Thou hast given unto us. We're grateful for this day that we have to remember those that have gone before us to serve and to protect this country. We are grateful for the people that are continuing to serve at this time. We ask that Thou might be able to bless them and their families. Please bless those that have all lost, and please continue to bless this great country which we live in, that we might continue to have the freedoms and the liberty which we need. Please continue to bless us all with the many blessings we stand in need of at this time, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please stand for the color party to retrieve the colors and remain standing for God Save the Queen, led by Amy Ulrid.
Detail, on the left. Quick, march. Color party, retrieve colors.
God save our gracious Queen, long live the noble Queen. God save the Queen, send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen.
Color party, outward, face. By the left, quick march.
As we conclude our ceremony, I'd like to thank the participants and the organizers who made this possible to bring this important Remembrance Day event into your homes. It is important that all generations continue the tradition of remembrance to honor the fallen and thank those that have served.